I met a guy my freshman year of high school. When I first spotted him in the gym, he was talking to my ex, but seemed uncomfortable. I asked if he wanted to walk laps with me, and he agreed happily. He instantly started trash talking my ex. I ignored it, as my ex is just outwardly nasty. After a couple of days of flirting, I asked him out, and he agreed. In the first few months, it was fine. A couple of times, he seemed off, like being outwardly rude to teachers and other students, but I ignored it. He complained about his house. I was in shock when I walked into one of the nicest houses in town, which was his. When his family was struggling to pay bills, I raised money for him, and he didn't care. In the last few months of dating, he treated me like I was stupid. I was giving him a month to fix it, and fix his behavior. The final straw was him not caring about my grandma's death, then getting mad at me for being upset. I dumped him a week later after that. He then came to my house without telling my family. He was demanding that I give him back a hoodie that I borrowed, but I didn't know where it was due to my mom's stress cleaning. My dad told him the same thing. He was pissed. He said it was my fault for not replying to his texts. He claimed that I cheated on him, treated him badly, and body shamed him in public. Then I remember him mentioning our first encounter. I didn't remember, but he did. He literally spent a whole summer forming a personality that I like. He learned what I like through mutual friends, and formed that personality. The nail in the coffin was him telling my friend that he feels no empathy for anyone. I dated this person for 7 months. I stayed at his house. I slept in the same room as him. This is most likely narcissistic behavior and not psychopathic behavior. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. I just hope I find the right one someday. I thought I'd come on here and share my experience in case anyone's been through something similar or has any idea of what kind of scenario I was dealing with. I was driving home from the gym at night and pulled up on a red light near a local courthouse. I noticed the driver of a white Jeep one lane over, and he was staring at me. He was an older guy, I guess late 40s to 50s with long sideburns. I'm a 31-year-old male though. Without additional context, I have no idea if this matters. I turned and looked at him, and he started pointing towards me, towards my left. At first, I thought he wanted to cut in front of me when the light turned green, which is strange because there was no one coming up behind us, so he could have just waited for me to go. But I guess someone else might pull up. I pointed to my left to confirm that's what he wanted, and then opened my window a tiny bit because he just kept on pointing, so I wanted to ask what was up. He didn't open his. The light turned green, and he changed lanes to drive behind me. It feels likely that he was trying to tell me to pull over earlier. I kept driving and changed lanes because he was tailgating me. He followed me immediately. Eventually, he switched lanes, but was driving erratically. He kept putting his left turn signal on, but not turning left at several lights, for example. He also slowed down to maintain the same pace as me a few times. Eventually, I turned before my actual home route to throw him off. He kept going, but when I looped around to actually head home, I saw him at the light waiting to turn left on the road towards my house. So I had to keep driving. Now, I'm not sure what his intentions were, but that was strange and unnerving to say the least. I'm a 26-year-old female who recently moved from the United States to a different country for a summer legal internship. After a few days of getting settled into my new home for the summer, I decided to sign up for a gym nearby my apartment to serve as a self-care ritual and blow off some steam after tough work days. Coming home from my first workout at the new gym, endorphins on 100, I noticed at the crosswalk that a man across from this busy street where I stopped was staring at me. Now, this is not super uncommon, as I have found in my new home, and I have gotten used to dealing with occasional male stares, but they are usually very brief. This guy, however, was not looking away. I stared back for a full beat, so I know he knows that I saw him. Hoping that would be the end of it, I then turned my head away to continue down the street, trying to avoid a creepy feeling that this wasn't the end of the interaction. From what I could tell, he didn't cross the lengthy street to meet me, and probably just continued down from his side. Next thing I know, about 2 minutes later, I'm at the crosswalk about to cross, when I see him in my peripheral vision next to me at the stop. How he crossed the street and sped up to me so quickly is either a reflection of his cunning and athletic ability, or my general lack of observational skills. Standing next to me now, he is still staring at me, but I try not to tip him off to my noticing this. I take off as fast as I can when it's safe to cross the crosswalk, and naturally, he matches my pace. He's a step or so behind me, and he's still staring. Here I find myself in a familiar situation that I imagine many who have been followed also find themselves in. It is a critical juncture, if you will, where you ask, is this someone following me, or just a silly misunderstanding? I begin to ask myself, am I overreacting? I have been followed many times before, sadly, and so I have found that the best way to handle it is to try to cut the baby in half, so to speak. I give them the benefit of the doubt, to prove to me that they aren't doing what I fear they are doing, while also trying to avoid any situation that would escalate the danger, or cue him off to where I am going. Trust, but also verify. So I decide to zip quickly towards another street, not my own, in hopes that he would prove me wrong, and not continue to follow me. This was a busy intersection, and there were about 6 different streets to follow from the crosswalk. He follows me down this random street, where there is truly only residential buildings, no stores or restaurants he could be headed towards, to explain him choosing the street, unless he lived nearby. Now I do something I have done before, when I have been followed. I test the other person. I slow down, and then speed up my pace randomly, to see if they match mine. He was definitely keeping up with my pace. Within a block or so, I realized he was definitely following me, and he was definitely still staring at me. Not only that, with every few steps, I felt his presence, and he was keeping pace, and he was getting closer and closer to me. The sun is now setting at this point, and we were walking towards a part of town I don't know as well. It was in that moment that I decided to make a break for it. I slowed down as slow as I have gone throughout this whole pursuit, checking my peripheral vision, and I ran across the street until I got to the other side. I look back once and see that he is now looking across the street and moving towards it to follow me more. But this time, I give him the meanest glare I can muster. I then decided to reach for my bag, as it suggests that I have reached for pepper spray or something. I hadn't brought some yet, because I had just moved to town a few days before. He notices the gestures. He makes eye contact, but then he stops, and then turns his head away to act like he's looking at the numbers on the street, as if he was lost, or looking for a specific spot, as if he hasn't been slowing up and speeding down with me for the past 10 minutes, not looking anywhere but at my backside, acting 0 out of 10 for capturing the innocence of someone definitely not creepily following a woman half his age back from the gym for 20 plus minutes. He continues to pretend to look around. He glances back at me, looks around some more, and glances back at me, and when he looks away for the 3rd time, I decide now is the time to truly make a break for it. I began booking it down the opposite street, while occasionally peeking back, see if he kept following me. I take a bunch of well-lit busy streets, taking random unnecessary turns. I have done this before, when I've been followed. Eventually, once I check out the whole street and feel confident I have lost him, I finally calculate my way back home. The next day, I asked a friend from work who was local to take me to get some pepper spray. I bought a mini version, the smallest size that I could easily fit in a purse. The pepper spray's brand, named for a bottle of the size, is literally called Madame. Like I said before, I've been followed before, but this one takes the cake for the creepiest thing that has ever happened to me. I don't know if this guy was trying to capture me or what, but I'm just glad I didn't have to find out. Before my days of my fitness YouTube channel, I outgrew my home gym and joined a larger gym. I've been a member for 2 weeks at the new gym. It was upper body day, and I had a variety of exercises lined up. Using a straight bar on a cable machine, I began with a set of bicep curls. I'm normally very focused on my workouts, and purposely try not to make eye contact with other gym goers. However, this night, I noticed a very tall man doing pull-ups right next to me. This wasn't unusual at all. The new gym was much larger than my old gym, but it was far more crowded. Plus, it was after the work rush. At times, it felt like we were working out right on top of each other. My attention to this man was brief, but he was noticeably tall. I imagine he could have simply reached up to grab the pull-up bar. His eyes were sunken in slightly, and had dark circles underneath. He was also very thin. I thought he could have totally played basketball in college, or something like that. Now laser focused on my workout and music, I completed 2 more sets of cable machine bicep curls, then made my way through the crowd to the dumbbell rack for shoulder shrugs. To my left, I noticed a tall man again. He was so tall, I thought he's got to be 6'6" at least. I refocused my workout and continued performing shoulder shrugs in the mirror. I glanced over at the tall guy's reflection. He was struggling to perform bicep curls next to me while staring at my reflection. It was an awkward sight, and when our eyes met, he quickly looked away. It's important to mention that not only did my new gym come with great equipment, but also many men who disregarded gym etiquette. So it was not uncommon for my workouts to be interrupted by men with pickup lines. All of this made me somewhat desensitized to male gym goers who were having weird behavior. I chalked the tall guy staring up to the usual shenanigans and finished my shoulder shrugs. My gym's layout was spacious and shaped like the letter C. The gym had 2 levels, with machines and straight training on the bottom level and cardio on the top level. My favorite cardio machine was a stair mill. That was the one reason why I joined the gym. It had tons of stair mills. When you entered the gym, you could walk directly up a flight of stairs to the cardio level, then make a sharp left turn towards the stair mill aisle. There, about 5 stair mill machines lined the back wall. The setup was great for privacy. My favorite stair mill was at the end of the aisle, nested in the corner. If I could, I always tried to snag it. I got lucky on this night, and not only had I gotten the corner stair mill, but also after the work gym crowd started to clear out, I was alone at the stair mill aisle. My headphones were on, and my music was blaring. I drifted off into my mind. I opened my eyes to adjust the speed, and in the corner of my left eye was the tall guy again. He was seemingly texting on his phone, and just casually leaning up against the wall. I thought nothing of it. After I adjusted the speed, I closed my eyes, and my mind drifted again. Upon reopening my eyes, I noticed the tall guy was closer to me, and still texting on his phone. We made eye contact, and he seemed nervous. I knew then that something was up. I turned off my headphones, but continued to wear them. I began to wonder if he was videotaping me. Then I mentally backpedaled and second-guessed myself. I thought, you don't know for sure that he's videotaping you. He could be minding his own business, and you're just jumping to conclusions. I continued climbing the stairs, but remained aware of the tall guy's position. By this point, he was no longer pretending to text, as he used his left hand to steady himself while sliding down the aisle with his back against the wall. He was videotaping me. Now remember that I was on the corner stair mill. In order for me to leave the area, I would have to climb down the stair mill and slide by the tall guy. The idea of that encounter, it scared me, so I considered other options. There weren't very many though, so I made more eye contact in a way that demonstrated that I knew what he was doing. He was unfazed and continued looking at me and down the wall in my direction. I was alone in the corner. I took my headphones off and put them around my neck, then pointed my iPhone camera in his direction. This only seemed to speed up his descent. Soon, the tall guy was standing directly behind me in the corner. If I jumped down, we'd be on top of each other. That was my best option, but I panicked. I took pictures of him videoing me as he sat down, legs crossed, at the base of the stair mill. He was filming my butt. It was like he was in full filmmaker mode. Tall guy seemed much more manageable, sitting on the floor, than standing in all of his 6'6" glory. I hopped off the stair mill, over him, and ran down to the front desk. My heart was pounding, and I yelled loudly to get a front desk attendant's attention. One in-gym employee came over to see how he could assist. I began telling him what just occurred, and frantically pointing towards the upstairs. The gym employee told me to calm down. I more calmly repeated what just happened to me, and he asked, "How do you know he was filming you? People film here all the time." I showed him pictures of the tall guy, seated legs crossed at the base of the stair mill. The gym employee responded, "He could be doing anything. You don't know if he was filming you." Any sense of urgency went away, and I found myself defending my own eyes to two male gym employees. Their assertions were ridiculous. The gym employee asked me if the tall guy was indeed filming me. "Why didn't you confront him? Surely that meant that you were lying." I replied, "Yeah, because I'm going to take on a 6'6" guy by myself." That statement must have stunned them back a little bit, and they went back into reality, because the gym employee quickly asked me to point out the tall guy. By that point, the tall guy was gone. The gym employees told me that they would look into the situation, and I left feeling defeated. I drove over to the Walmart in the next parking lot over, and angrily called my now ex-boyfriend. He was also angry upon hearing my story. He was fired up, and I was fired up. I went back to the gym and demanded to speak to a manager. The incident occurred not 10 minutes prior, and the assistant gym manager knew nothing about it. I had to retell my story for the third time, but made sure to tell him about the male gym employee's attitude towards me. I was again told the situation would be handled and a report would be filed. I felt like no one was taking me seriously. I went home and I told my girlfriends what happened and showed them the images. They were frightened and disgusted. My head was spinning. I emailed the gym's chain corporate office with my story and the pictures. Then my girlfriends, my boyfriend and I, tweeted their official Twitter account. I returned to that gym in the morning to discuss the matter again, and the assistant gym manager said, "I told you I would handle it." He went on to tell me that after we spoke the night before, that the tall guy returned. He was up on the cardio floor again, filming another woman's butt, and her husband caught him. Her husband went to tell the front desk attendant, and they immediately called the police. The police questioned the tall guy, and I'm told he was estranged. as he appeared to be. The police asked him if they could see his phone, and he declined. Apparently, without a warrant, they could not demand it. The only recourse was to file a police report and ban the tall guy from the gym. As annoyed as I was with how the gym handled my complaint, I felt relief at knowing that he was at least banned, and onlookers were forced to believe me. My relief was cut short when it dawned on me that the tall guy would just go up and sign up at another gym to fulfill his sexual deviancy. Someone who had such little self-control could potentially have a record, which would be valuable information to know if any gym ever bothered doing background checks. My thoughts spiraled into a dark place. Every gym goer could potentially be vulnerable with this tall guy, and many gyms now even have daycare rooms. Where would he go, and who would he encounter next? I never received any acknowledgement from that gym's corporate office. However, the gym manager did attempt to contact me a couple times to apologize. I didn't want or need it.